Like, I'll tell a personal story from my standpoint. As a young boy, remember we went down to Florida in February, and first time ever there. And you know, in New York in February, it's rather cold. Well, in Florida, it's not. We were on the beach, so I realized I'm like, you know, this is winter in Florida. I mean, you know, winter in New York looks different. I like this. I like this summer. So when I looked at that, and it stuck in my head as a young boy, not that like I was like planning getting the hell out of New York at the age 10 or 11, whenever it was. But I always imagined what I call vacation is sun and palm trees. All right. And one day I just had to get out of New York, and I was like 30 something years old, and I ended up in Phoenix. Now, there's no ocean here, but there's sun and palm trees. So I was like, oh, what happened here? But I also discovered something else here in Phoenix that wouldn't have happened if I went to Florida. And and not to say it doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. I'm saying my experience and connection. But a town like Sedona, and even the people I met, even the woman I met to conceive my son. So all these things happen. So, but yet I still made it into a place that had palm trees and sun, and I didn't write it down, you know, begrudgingly, or I didn't write it down every day thinking about it. It was a moment in time when I was like 11 years old that hit me. And then over time, as impulses would come, I would ignore them. Another impulse come, ignore it. And then next time I act on it a little bit, and then ignore the second one, so forth. And then by the age of 30 years old, I was here. And when I was here, it wasn't until 5 years later I realized this is what I always imagined since the age of 11. So even in an unconscious state, it's always moving you in a direction. When you're conscious, though, you recognize when the GPS is on. You listen to it. When you're unconscious, like, why does it keep saying that? And then if you accidentally act on it, it moves you in a direction. So even in my unconscious state of not understanding what's going on, I made it to this place. Palm trees and sun. There's obviously no ocean because we're in the desert. But nonetheless, I actually like the dry climate better than I like the humidity. All right? So this actually turned out to be better than if I actually ended up in Florida. But I didn't know about Arizona to even imagine it. But my higher self did know. All right? So that's the story. Like, this happens to every one of us, even when we're unconscious. But when you're conscious of it, you actually have control over your story. You don't have control over how or who's going to come in. Just like I have control over what movie I go to. But I don't have control over the story, because if I did, I wouldn't go see it. I want to go into a story. I know it's a comedy. Like, you don't go to a story and like, I hope it's not a horror movie. You know what you're going in to see, right? So when you go in and it's a comedy and you understand the actors, so you understand what direction the comedy is going to go in, whether it's kind of slapstick or, different types of comedy. But there's also an infinite possibilities, even when that little framework of comedy, the infinite possibilities is what I want to experience in that moment. And I don't want to know until I see it. I want to experience it in a surprisingly fashion. And that's how we want to live our life. Our imagination is to set a forth picture to move towards. But from where we are to where we move to is why we came here. It's the experiences. So the imagination will just generate a new chapter in your book, or a new book, however you want to look at it. And it's all for the experience. But knowing that you can do it and use that imagination is all you'll ever need to know. And then let go. And don't try to get it done. Don't try to finish it. The less resistance you have to push it, the paradox is you actually move through it quicker. If you don't, it's like the GPS is make a right. And then, well, why am I making a right, not a left? Why don't I go straight? So now you're questioning it, thinking you can get there quicker. I know a quicker way. It's like, no. The GPS, the global positioning system, can see everything. You can't. You're on the ground. So it pings down and says, well, that bridge is down. So we got to go this way. We think we know how to get places. We don't. Because every time we've been somewhere, to go somewhere else, we're in a different position. So if I go from here to San Diego, and then I go to LA, to get back to San Diego, I need a new map. Because the first one isn't going to work. And even if I go here to San Diego and come back here, I might need a new map because they're doing road work. It's always changing, always shifting. And the traffic is going to be different every time I go.